Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
There really is nothing like listening to Depeche Mode music you've never heard before. I would say new, but the tracks are a few years old, even though it wasn't until about 2 hours ago I had the opportunity to hear Survive, Life 2.0, and Give Yourself to Me. Along with, in the end, these are the 4 fully produced Memento Mori session tracks that did not make it on the album. I do not understand why these tracks didn't make it on the album. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Depeche Mode, the podcast, devotees. My name is Jon Justice, and I'm glad you are with another episode this week. Let me give you a bit of a preview of what you can expect on this show and in the coming weeks. So, much like many of you, I anticipate getting my box set for Memento Mori Mexico City within the next few days. I know it's shipped. I just don't know how quickly it's going to get here, even though tomorrow is the 5th. At which time, once I have it in my hands and I have some time to spend with it and finally see Depeche Mode M, I will be doing a show breaking down all of the box set in its entirety, my thoughts on not just the movie, but the concert in and of itself that'll be included in the box set. Today, I want to spend time going over the 3 unreleased tracks that I did not get a chance to hear until today and share with you my thoughts, and we do have some listener feedback to get to on the show this week. So I'm really excited to once again be talking about essentially new Depeche Mode. As always, if you want to email me, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, or leave that comment up on YouTube if you're enjoying the show there. So, going down the list of the 4 tracks and who wrote it, we'll start with In the End. I'm not going to spend time talking about In the End. I've talked about In the End a bunch on the show already. That track was written by Martin Gore and Richard Butler. Now, this also rings true when it comes to Give Yourself to Me. That is also a Martin and Butler track. Life 2.0 was written by just Martin Gore, while Survive was a Martin and Dave penned track. So let me start with Survive. I'm going to share with you my initial thoughts on listening to the songs. I've probably listened to all 3 of them about 5 or 6 times already since doing the show. I already have some feedback from friends of the show. I also went over to the Depeche Mode home forum and grabbed some comments of some of the individuals in the forum who've had the opportunity to hear the new songs as well. And I pulled a few reviews from a handful of music publications that I'll share before we get into your listener feedback from last week's episode. So let's start off with Survive. First off, I love all 4 of these tracks, but these 3 new tracks, I really do love all of them. I can understand on a few of them why they were left off the album. That being said, and I'll get into this, one, I think you could have included all 4 of these tracks for a larger Memento Mori. I also personally could have swapped out a handful of other songs to replace them with any of these tracks. They're that strong in my opinion. Again, but I understand why some of them were left out, but let's dive into it. For Survive, I was immediately reminded of Dave's vocal work on some of his solo albums, but this is so much better. A mid-tempo track, very ethereal, mellow in the best possible ways. On the one hand, again, I can understand why all of these tracks were left off the album, but at the same time, I can already tell that I'm going to be revisiting and seeking out these songs more than a handful on Memento Mori that I often find myself skipping. Caroline's Monkey has grown on me, but honestly, I could have replaced that track with any of these 3, along with Always You, My Favorite Stranger, and Wagging Tongue specifically. Keeping in mind this is all always subjective, I'm really curious to go and put together a new version of Memento Mori and placing the tracks in my own specific order and seeing how the album sounds as a whole alongside those other tracks on Memento Mori that I absolutely love. Soul With Me, Don't Say You Love Me, Before We Drown, obviously, Ghosts Again. But Survive is, of the three, probably my least favorite of the three, even though it's still a track that I already immediately enjoy and I know I'm going to be seeking out in the future to listen to repeatedly. It would not have been a repeat, or excuse me, would not have been a skip for me if it was included on Memento Mori. Life 2.0, on a first listen, I was questioning a bit. I wasn't quite down with it. I was a little bit kind of thrown off. I think the Life 2.0 in and of itself is a little strange in terms of a lyric. And now, after just a handful of listens, I absolutely adore this track. The way Martin had brought it up during the promotion of Memento Mori had me wondering, and I do wonder whether or not Life 2.0 was one of the four songs that was debated over the most for its possible inclusion. Since we heard about it before we heard of the other three tracks, Survive, Give Yourself to Me, and In the End. And again, it may not fit with the rest of the album, but it's such a unique song, especially with that subtle repetition of a modulated Martin in the background repeating the line Life 2.0. Like it works really well. It's this sort of haunting reminder that this is another chance at life over Dave's fantastic vocal on the track. It's very simple. It has an Exciter vibe, and I'm not the only one that's noticed that or taken that view. Rome Ed has, and I'll share with you his thoughts here in a moment. But really, really like that song. Give Yourself to Me. This one is the standout. Also, I can understand why they didn't include it. The track might have faltered completely if it were not for the fact that the chorus absolutely brings this track home. So around the chorus, the lyrics in and of itself sound really close to Corrupt or Where's the Revolution, which both share similarities to me. The cadence in which the lyrics are written, the way in which Dave sings them, you could take Corrupt and actually sing the Corrupt lyrics over the music of Give Yourself to Me. But then when that chorus hits, holy cow, does the chorus absolutely land and elevate that track beyond any sort of redundancies that it might have had in the lead up to the chorus. And it's one that immediately I was thinking to myself, that would have made for a great live track. Because right now, listen, we're far beyond the territory of Depeche Mode putting together an album filled with singles and classics like we've had in the past. With a band like Depeche, you get this far into their career, decades into their career. It doesn't really lend itself anymore to an album that's just filled with a whole bunch of hits like it was earlier in their career. I mean, in order to do that, you'd almost have to go back and really be repetitive in terms of copying what you've done before. Ghosts Again, to me, is a really good example. I've made a lot of comparisons to Enjoy the Silence. The way the lyrics are crafted in terms of the blocks of lyrics and the way that they flow, the tempo of the song in and of itself. Enjoy the Silence lends itself much better to a live atmosphere than Ghosts Again does, and that was clear. I love the Ghosts Again version they did on tour, but it's just not really a song that's conducive to that sing-songy quality that Enjoy the Silence has. But it does have a lot of similarities to it. So seeing that the band is so far down the line and we're in the final era of the band for the most part, it still blows me away that they can produce this quality of music and unique takes on their own distinctive style. It's got to be hard. If you're Martin and Dave and you've been creating music all these years and you don't want to be derivative of what you've done before, and that's really the word that I was looking for would be derivative. You need to take different and bold steps. And with that, you just don't have the opportunity, in my opinion, to land on a bunch of great songs like you did in the past just because you've been creating music for so long. That being said, all of these songs, while not single worthy, apart from In the End, I think that song could have absolutely been a single. These are all incredibly strong tracks. I put all 4 tracks together with In the End, and I listened to them kind of like an EP. And as I suspected, it would have made an incredible EP. These songs, and there's some comments relating to them obviously being called B-sides. I think it's appropriate the way that they said from the Memento Mori sessions, because personally I feel like these songs are much better than B-sides. When you go back and look at the recent slate of B-sides that we received, you got to go back to Delta Machine in order to reference anything, and, prior to that, Playing the Angel. But, well, and of course we had a handful of those B-sides that came off of Sounds of the Universe. But in my opinion, these tracks here, which makes sense, and let me explain, are much better served as from the Memento Mori sessions than being relegated as B-sides. And it would make sense simply because the quality of Memento Mori in and of itself was already better than the albums that I just mentioned. I think most fans agree. We kind of all put Memento Mori in the category with your Songs of Faith and Devotion, Ultra, and then a lot of people on their top Depeche Mode album list are going to be ranking Memento Mori right there next to Ultra, or at least right underneath it. And listen, it's different than the old days. I talk about the idea of there being an EP, but perhaps the inclusion of all of the songs on this live release was the right move to, grab a few more sales. But again, I understand why these tracks were allegedly supposed to be released as a promo for a tour extension if it were to have happened. That's what I was told specifically from a really good source, that these tracks were supposed to come out as a promotion for the tour if they had decided to add a final leg, and they didn't. So they, put pause on releasing these songs. So, as always, as you have a chance to spend time with these tracks, I want to hear your thoughts and, whether you agree or disagree with my assessment of Survive Life 2.0, and give yourself to me. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, or, again, you can go and leave a comment up on YouTube. So I'm going to put this in the category of listener feedback and run through the comments that I've received so far from friends of the show, some of the reviews, and again, those comments up on the home forum, and then we'll get into your official emails and listener feedback that I've received over the course of the past week. First off, Rome Ed writes this: I love them. Give Yourself to Me reminds me of Corrupt a little, except better. Though I like Corrupt. Survive, there's a part in Survive towards the end that reminds me of Exciter. I also love Life 2.0. So simple and a bit weird, but I do love it. So thank you, Rome. I plan on hearing more from him as he spends more time with the songs. Friend of the show, Matthew Abel, writes this: these songs are incredible, just amazing. So fresh, but still very Depeche Mode. Elements of their prior catalog are hidden all around these songs. Yeah, and that falls very much in line with most of the tracks off of Memento Mori, where they have these little tiny nods to previous songs. But they're all refreshingly different and unique. For example, Life 2.0, have you heard something like that background chorus from Depeche Mode before? No, as I was trying to put my finger on it, like it sounds familiar, but not coming from Depeche. Like it almost had this Cocteau Twins came into my mind for some reason, but it's probably because I've been listening to a lot of Cocteau Twins, as I do always over the holidays. Heaven or Las Vegas is one of my favorite Christmas albums. It's not a Christmas album, I understand, but the first time I discovered that album, going back to 1990-91, it happened over the holidays, and Heaven or Las Vegas by Cocteau Twins will forever be a Christmas album for me. Matthew goes on to say, what an absolute treat this is from the boys. You called it months ago, John. These songs are incredibly high quality. How in the world did they not make the cut? The groove on Survive! ! Loving it. You nailed it on Give Yourself to Me. Definitely Corrupt and Where's the Revolution vibes. But this song is so much better in my opinion. That chorus takes it to a place that lifts it up and avoids the slightly cliched trappings of Corrupt and Where's the Revolution. Bravo, DM. Dare I say these tracks? I like these tracks more than several on Memento Mori. I would dare to say anything. I actually agree with you. Again, I can understand why the band had to make a choice. They didn't want an album that was too bloated. And maybe some of the tracks didn't fit and vibe with the other songs, but man, these are great songs. All right. Depeche One on the home forum says this: of the 3 songs, the best for me is Give Yourself to Me. Strong song. Life 2.0 is a bit Jezebel with the voice effect. Interesting. Okay, I'll get that to you. Survive, so far so good. As someone said, a solid B-side is what it is. Ronnie on the Depeche forum says, I've had discussions with friends who are raving about Survive, including my son. For me, it sounds like a good B-side, but nothing exciting, really. Give Yourself to Me, on the other hand, grabbed me right away. I just love it. Life 2.0 may not be earth-shattering, but I really enjoy it. Newborn 01 on the home forum writes, Survive is beautiful, my favorite of the 4 from the Memento Mori sessions. Life 2.0 will take a few listens, the most obvious B-side. It's an oddball sound, but it's fun too. Give Yourself to Me. Dave sounds awesome, especially in the chorus. Love it. The song doesn't flow in my view, but very enjoyable. Next up, Hubert, also from the home forum, writes, Life 2.0, not my thing at all. So actually, this one was not frustrating, smiley face. Survive, interesting intro, typical Martin, kind of a cool chorus, but why oh why do they keep using drums made of cardboard boxes? I'll never understand. Another track that begs to lift off at some point, but doesn't. Give Yourself to Me. Great vocals by Dave, nice chorus, then repeats the exact same thing. I think In the End is probably my favorite of the 4. And I would agree with that. I think In the End is absolutely my favorite of the 4 tracks. And that should have been included on Memento Mori and should have been a single in my opinion, and I will die on that hill. French Rolling Stone, of the 4 unreleased tracks, says this: Give Yourself to Me is described as a spectral mid-tempo piece with ghost-like synths and a kind of ritual offering-like feel. Life 2.0 has an almost robotic-treated voice and cold mechanical pulse. Survive is linked to Walking in My Shoes with mute anger, a climactic tone, and the repeated line, We survive, will survive, carried by a spectral sound. I'll have to go back and listen to Survive. I'm not necessarily hearing the Walking in My Shoes references in that track. And then next up, Clash Music says this: the album concludes with 4 unreleased songs recorded during the Memento Mori sessions. Quite why these tracks never made it to the final album is beyond this writer. Of these, Give Yourself to Me initially carries the same ache as Waiting for the Night from Violator before coalescing into a harder, more determined track. The reflective In the End, first heard in the end credits of Depeche Mode M, details our eventual dissolution into dust and is led by the fattest Depeche Mode bass line since Fly on the Windscreen. Cheerful it may be, but its naked frankness is emblematic of why the director was so successfully able to train his camera on the band for this bold and ambitious movie. All right, moving over into your listener feedback. First off, let's start with Mello from the Netherlands, who writes this: I discovered your podcast after I went to a Depeche Mode concert in Berlin on the last tour. So I haven't heard all of the episodes, and you may have touched upon this before, but I only discovered in the last few years how many DM tribute albums there are. I have quite a few of them, and there are many more around. A lot of them are by various artists from a specific country. I really like the ones from Greece and Denmark. I think it is a testament to the impact of the brand that there are so many of these tribute albums, and a sign of the quality of songwriting that many of the cover versions are as good as they are. In fact, some of the covers of early songs from Speak and Spell, a Broken Frame era, are even better than the originals, in my opinion. Not so for latter songs, where the covers are mainly interesting because they highlight different aspects of the songs. I'm curious of your opinion on the subject. Kind regards, Mark Amello from the Netherlands. So as I've said before on the show, I have a difficult time when it comes to covers. Because, I love Depeche Mode so much that I find myself just going and obviously comparing it to the original track, and often I just want to go and hear the original track. Back when probably the most prominent or successful Depeche Mode covers album came out, the one that had The Cure and Failure, I think, was the Smashing Pumpkins on that too? I don't remember now. That was probably one of my favorite cover albums, but it's been decades since I've gone and pulled that out. It's tough for me. I love the band so much that I typically just want to go and listen to the original tracks rather than go and listen to the covers. And I know there are a lot of different covers that are available out there. One of the other cover albums that I enjoyed more was, and this goes way back to the 2000s, or early 2000s. It might have been late 1990s, to be honest. But there was a symphonic Depeche Mode that was released where somebody had basically taken and done instrumental tracks of a whole bunch of Depeche tracks. I really did enjoy that release. But again, this is something that I have not listened to in absolute decades. All right, let's get back to more listener feedback. And again, we'll hear from friend of the show, Rome, who wishes a great Thanksgiving. Hopes it was a good one. It did. We had a great Thanksgiving. I'm really curious about the 4 new tracks. Well, 3 now. I have to order the whole M set. I realized I do not have a Blu-ray player, so I have to order that as well. Do you think they decided to release M on December 5th because it is so close to December 13th to give DM fans something new to listen to on Depeche Mode Day? That probably wasn't the reason, but I'm still very excited. No, I think the reason was that it was late coming out. Because it was. I think that the movie was supposed to come out much earlier. That's at least what I've been told. And so they decided to get it out before Christmas. That's my best guess. Make for a great Christmas gift. I've heard this newish song by Stella Rose Gahan called Drugstore Romeo, and I really like it. I noticed that Stella has the same dance moves as Dave, or is it just me? The other thing, I was cracking myself up when I read the title of the song, Drugstore Romeo. I wonder if Stella knows that her dad was an addict. I'm kidding, he writes. That's like if Michael Jackson's daughter Paris was a singer and wrote a song called I Love Kids. Whew! Rome acknowledges, again, bad joke. Yeah, indeed it was. I also have to agree with you on Ghosts Again in the M footage. Great picture, however, you were right about how long ago we would watch the concert with our own eyes, not via the phones. Perhaps concerts should be like the movie theater in that regard, no recording allowed. It's so funny to me because going to those shows back in the late 80s and early 90s into the 2000s before we had smartphones, I remember it was a big deal to actually go and record a show, to sneak in a recording device. You simply didn't do it, and if you did, you got busted. I still have the double album Un Nuit à la Mode. It was the World Violation Tour out of Paris. I still have that live CD set. Experiential memories should be inside your brain, not on your phone. But what if you have a problem remembering things? I myself have a few pictures and recordings of my Memento Mori concert experience, but I don't think I ever looked at them again or for them because everything is in my head, and that gives me a better pleasure of the remembering of things of the event. Anyway, I hope you're having a good rest of the week, Rome Ed. I am. I did the same thing. I took a handful of shots, I think 1 or 2 short videos from the show that I went to in Denver with my buddy Matt, and I haven't gone back to look at them, apart from a collage, if you will, that I have on my desk, prominent at home, of some photos of Dave and Martin, me and Matt, and also a guitar pick that we were able to get our hands on as well. All right, last up, Jan writes, we have two more here. We have Jan and Dom. Jan writes this: I took your challenge to incorporate In the End into Memento Mori quite seriously. I removed songs that I, for some reason, didn't like and reordered the remaining ones based on my feelings. As a non-native English speaker, I focused mostly on the music. In my opinion, the result flows much better than the original album. In the End is now the first song on the second side of an LP. I look forward to hearing your opinion. So here's what Jan put together. My Cosmos is Mine into Don't Say You Love Me, People Are Good, Before We Drown, In the End, Wagging Tongue, Soul With Me, Always You, and Speak to Me. Listen, I like the order. I have not listened to the songs in that order, but you want to make a nice, tight album, and I'm immediately sort of reminded of Violator. Violator, again, such a classic album, and only 9 songs. It's just incredible that way. I like what you put together, and I'm looking forward to doing something very similar now that we have all of the Memento Mori tracks. I'm wondering if I can't go and create a perfect Memento Mori era album for Jon Justice based off of all the available music. I think I'll limit myself to 10 tracks. All right, one more. Dom writes this. Hello, sir. Love the podcast. Definitely going to check out your Star Wars podcast as well. Thank you. I feel like we would be buddies if you lived closer, being the same age, both married with kids and love Depeche Mode and Star Wars. I just wanted to mention how much I love My Joy. I agree with you 100%. I was lucky enough to see M with my wife and kids in IMAX. And I definitely agree with you about the crowd. They need to put the phones down and experience it. A Depeche Mode concert is almost like a religious experience. You truly miss the magic when you're just watching through your screen. Really excited about the live CD. They truly sound better than ever. I was able to see them live with my 2 older kids. My 9-year-old wants to see them live now more than anything since the movie M. We'll be watching live in Mexico City show at home the weekend it's released. Thank you for a great podcast. I look forward to it every week. P.S. Your novels are on my Christmas wish list. Can't wait to check them out. Be well and safe. And thank you again, Dom. I may have read that on the last episode. It all sounds familiar. Or it could just be because I actually pre-read that one, and I typically don't pre-read the emails. Speaking of my sci-fi novels, they do make great gifts. Treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with science fiction. If you like your sci-fi to be epic, filled with romance, action, unique space vehicles, where Depeche Mode plays a large part in the underlying themes of the story, and the main character himself, set in 2172, is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters of the story. After Earth faces its end, follow pilots Taft, Katha, and their crew on a journey of survival as they fight for humanity's future. It's a fun and fast-paced, action-packed science fiction adventure without an agenda. 7 books in all in the series, available at Amazon.com. Just search for EMBARK, E-M-B-A-R-K, and Jon Justice, J-O-N, and you can find them there. I hope you're having a fantastic holiday season. I'll be back again next week, maybe early in the week too, with my full review of the Depeche Mode Mexico City box set. Until then, I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. I hope wherever you are, you're happy, you're healthy, you're safe. Again, you're having a great holiday season, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
And Depeche Mode, the podcast.